G'day everyone and welcome to the June 2023 edition of Australian Railway Preservation News. We're going to go through all the news updates and announcements that have happened in the Australian Railway Preservation community. So without further ado, let's get into the news. Starting in Victoria, where on the 1st of July, 707 operations will be returning former V-Line locomotive A62 to the rails with a members train to Kilmore East with sister locomotive A66, and I do hope to see lots of you on board. Now, tickets for this event were offered to members only, and 707 operations have now made signing up to become a member even easier with online sign-ups on their website. And the link for that and everything else that I mentioned in this video will be in the description below. The turntable at Korumburra on the now closed South Gippsland Railway was moved this month to its new home at the Yarra Valley Railway at the Yarra Glen Station, which the Yarra Valley Railway is still working on reconnecting to. The Alexandria Timber Tramway Museum is closed for July and August for maintenance. However, their next open day will be in early September with a market that's on Saturday the 9th till 1 and on Sunday the 10th. They plan to run their steam engine during the day and open the museum. So if you're interested in other machines, they're having a Heritage Machinery Festival on the 7th and 8th of October with machines of all ages and types from across Victoria. And they've asked that if you want to be one of the exhibitors to contact them now. And as for us visitors, keep the date free. Dermpav have organised another outing for 58RM. This time they'll be visiting Wendouree on the 26th of August. From there, it's only a short walk to the new Ballarat Tramway Museum, or ride a heritage tram in the Botanical Gardens and Lake Wendouree. The tour departs from Newport Station. One leg of the journey will be over the freight-only line between Geelong and Ballarat via Meredith, with the other leg being on the normal track via Bacchus Marsh. Tickets on these trips are very limited due to the size of the rail motor, and they're currently available at $158 from their website. SteamRail have 3 tours happening this month, with the very popular Eureka Express on the 1st, suburban shuttles from the newly opened Union Station, as well as a second Eureka Express to Ballarat on the 22nd, with lots more trips planned for the rest of the year. Not to mention, there was a fantastic members-only train that ran during the month to celebrate the Clark twins' work in the restoration of the Tates and service with the Electrail division of SteamRail. SteamRail have also added that they will be running the vintage Tate set to the AMRA Victoria exhibition at the Melbourne Showgrounds with tickets now available. Seymour Railway Heritage Centre are off to Portland on the 14th to the 16th, with shuttles being run over the weekend out of Portland on the Saturday. And I'll be on board, and once again, I do hope to see lots of you there. And what's set to be a fantastic weekend, with a line that seldom sees passenger traffic. Seymour also added that locomotive S307 is ready and raring to go to Portland, and the team at Seymour Railway Heritage Centre have been very busy, and a lot of work has gone into the locomotive. Now a lead unit, with the ICE radio fitted and looking magnificent. S307 has had a major cleanup to make it look its best on its first trip. Volunteers have been working tirelessly to ensure that the loco looks and performs its best for their upcoming Portland-bound train. This will be S307's first official run with Seymour Railway Heritage after only arriving back at the depot in April. It will be a magnificent trip, so make sure you do buy a ticket and come along for the ride before it sells out. At the Mornington Railway, the carriage Melville, the former royal carriage built in 1901, re-entered service after an extended restoration of its exterior, roof and undergear. Since August last year, Melville has been receiving full external restoration, with many of the large sash windows being rebuilt from scratch. The roof has been recanvassed using heritage techniques, reconstruction of one of the end platforms, and the full repaint of the body into an authentic blue and gold colour scheme, which it wore from the 1950s to the 1970s, when it was both in Vice-Regal and the Train of Knowledge service. At this stage, the interior has not been restored and will not be available for passenger use. Instead, it will be used as a guards van at the end of the train. In the near future, they hope to have some interpretive materials available to tell their visitors and passengers more about this fascinating carriage. Once the additional funds have been obtained, the interior will be restored to reflect the grand history of the carriage to enable it to become a member of the Mornington Railway premium vehicle fleet. At that point, it will be available for public access. On the 22nd of April, the Ballarat Tramway Museum operated their horse tram number 1 for the first time in a couple of years. The horse tram carried pre-booked passengers on the short section of the northern end of the tramway, with electric trams running shuttles to and from the museum. The day was extremely successful, with 784 passenger trips recorded. This was the first time that they've run the horse tram in cooperation with the Sandy Creek Clydesdales, and the partnership was so positive they plan to run a similar operation later in the year. On the 16th of May, the waiting shelter that formerly stood at the Lydiard Street North terminus was transported from the Apex Club of Ballarat's property to their facility in Bungaree for safekeeping, pending a decision on its future. The museum has also been fortunate to have Victorian Railways tram number 41 in their museum display hall, on loan from the Melbourne Tramcar Preservation Association. On the 18th of May, work was carried out to service and road test this car on Wendouree Parade for the first time. With the test being successful, work now moves to training tram crews so this car can operate on special event days, in a similar manner to their Geelong car number 2. And lastly, in May and June, it saw them operate their second Neon Night tram event. Initially operating during the Ballarat Heritage Festival, this event saw their single truck car number 13 externally decorated in colourful light strips to carry pre-booked passengers on a series of rides in the early evening. Interest from walk-up visitors was so much that they were required to put on a second tram running in a convoy to cater for these extra passengers. Due to the high demand, they decided to operate the service again over the King's Birthday long weekend, again resulting in high interest from tourists and Ballarat locals alike. The third and final run of the Neon Tram was expected to run during the Ballarat Winter Festival during the 24th of June to the 16th of July. More information is available on their website, as well as links to purchase tickets. At the Bellarine Railway, it's been a busy month, with the overhaul of BU 456 being the primary priority in the workshop at the moment. And thanks to excellent patronage during their Thomas events, they're finishing the overhaul on this carriage to add an extra 90 seats per session. The carriage has had its roof lifted at Queenscliff, and the room beams were replaced with how it will be at Lakers siding for the timber work to be completed and the mechanical work required. One bogie is now completed, and it won't be long until the other bogie is removed and the project is finished. Tasmanian Railways car AAL9 and West Australian Railways power van ZA200 have also been receiving exclusive timber repairs and will be receiving a repaint along with their Queensland Railways postal van before the Blues train restarts in October. T251 is back in regular service, now after a boiler washout and regular servicing that was required, and will continue to run on their Sunday heritage services. 3620, the South African 24 class, is also running the first Friday, Saturday and Sunday, providing a different experience on the Q train. The Heritage Tramway Centre located at Bylands will not open during July, although there have been a few things happening at the Bylands site. They now have tram SW6 922 and cable trailer 192 added to the Tramway Heritage Centre's collection. They've said that 922 will gradually become the museum's picnic tram, and they will also feature a shelter to protect the tram. As well as that, they have also received a former Yarra Trams inspection truck. Lastly, I'll leave you with some footage of a special run that was made by the Climax locomotive at Puffing Billy Railway at the start of the month. Now let's head over to South Australia. As mentioned in last month's news, Locomotive 701 did a bit of a runaround, seeing it run from Tailem Bend in South Australia to Dimboola in Victoria, where it picked up some of the former Northern Rivers Railroad and Steam Rail's standard gauge rolling stock. Then ran all the way through to Albury in New South Wales, where it swapped carriages for the V-Line N set that was stored at Edamoga. It then returned them to Tailem Bend Depot. And it's great to see that these carriages will be given a new life with the Australian Locomotive and Railway Carriage Company, or ALARC. It is rumoured that they will in fact be testing these trains soon, which is very exciting to see mainline tours potentially back in South Australia. At the National Railway Museum in Port Adelaide, it's the last chance to see the Red Hens running using the Jacket Station at the Railway Museum during these school holidays, which is Thursday the 20th to Sunday the 23rd of July. The station and tracks are to be demolished to make way for the new Adelaide Metro Port Dock Railway Station next year. The museum will thereafter be using a jointly shared new station platform with the new Adelaide Metro line and their trains. The project is planned to be completed in about November 2024. Steam Ranger welcomed 424 back to service as it ran along the Bugle Ranger shuttle. They added to social media that they'd like to thank everyone who braved the unfavourable weather and joined them on board, and it was great to see so many happy faces. They added to remember that although they're not able to operate trains along the south coast at the moment, they do have trains running north of Goolwa from Mount Barker. I would also suggest that if you can support Steam Ranger at the moment, they could really use with donations, ticket sales and memberships, more so than usual. And lastly, at the St Kilda Tramway Museum, the historic Glenelg H-Type tram number 352 is back in service. The restored tram from the Department of Infrastructure and Transport now reflects the base tram's appearance from the 1950s. After years of restoration, this historic tram was officially unveiled and relaunched on the 28th of May. And a huge congratulations to all the dedicated volunteers for their commitment to preserving Adelaide's tram heritage and getting this base of history back on track. In Tasmania, the Don River Railway had a small update on the Two Tracks Function Centre. They said that after 3 months of non-stop work by many, that they are finally closing in on the completion and ready for their first private function at the end of June. With a fully insulated roof, new bar, lighting and much more. Don River have decided that August 19th will be their official public relaunch event. There'll be plenty of entertainment, but even better than that, all proceeds from the relaunch will be going into building something very special for the space as they open themselves up to even bigger things in the future. Tickets will be available soon, so keep an eye on their social media. At the West Coast Wilderness Railway, it is now the off-season shutdown, but of course they'll be returning later in the year with dates to be announced soon. Although this does now give them time for maintenance works. They've said that larger maintenance tasks have commenced around the railway, although it doesn't take the spotlight from their not so small existing tasks that were underway beforehand. Carriage 14 is currently in the process of receiving an overhaul and a transformation into a wilderness carriage, complete with the installation of a kitchen area and tabled seating. In Western Australia, the Bennett Brook Railway steam train is running throughout the season, although it is short, lasting less than 4 months. This little train runs around the Revolutions Transport Museum at Whiteman Park in Perth, which showcases land transportation and the Whiteman Collection. The Hotham Valley Railway just released their July 23 timetable. Their Steam Ranger is operating on Wednesday for school holidays plus the normal Sunday services. Their Forest train is operating Saturdays and their restaurant train each Saturday evening. They even have the special restaurant train on Friday the 7th of July. The private club car is still available for this date, but be quick before it sells out. Their annual anniversary of Steam is happening again on September 23rd, and you can ride with them between 9 and 4 PM at the Hotham Valley Railway's Dwelling Up station. Their Steam Ranger and Forest trains are both going to be operating and departing Dwelling Up from 10:30 and 2. Advanced online bookings are essential, as this train will most likely sell out. At Rail Heritage West Australia, locomotive AB 1535 arrived at the museum, although no confirmations of whether it's going to be a permanent display or it's just there for a short period. AB 1535 was previously on lease to Watco. In huge news, on the 1st of July, the previously closed Pemberton Tramway will reopen. The Pemberton Tramway Company is a privately operated tourist railway in the southwest of Western Australia. It which takes tourists and rail fans through the deep forests and picturesque countryside, as well as recreating the history of the timber railways that were once so important to the region's development and growth. The railway uses paid and voluntary staff, and operates diesel hydraulic trams over the total route length of 10 kilometres from Monday to Saturday. So that's some really exciting news, and great to hear that this tramway has not been lost. In the ACT, some excellent news out of Canberra. The Canberra Railway Museum is delighted to have been awarded $1,500 by the Australian Volunteer Grant. This money will be used to fit out the kitchen of the carriage LHY 1613, currently under restoration as their permanent volunteers facility. And they would like to express their thanks to the federal government for helping get this carriage another step closer to completion. In New South Wales, the picnic train is off to Coffs Harbour from the 7th to the 11th of July for the first time in 8 years, with many shuttles organised, and tickets are currently available. As well as that, the Kiama picnic train is running on the 29th and the 30th. There are also many other tours coming later this year. Transport Heritage New South Wales saw the iconic 3801 run to Newcastle, and it seems to have been a very popular tour, and will be running again on the 22nd and 23rd of July. As well as that, in July, the daily steam train rides are back on at the New South Wales Rail Museum in Thelmere. Also, across the long weekend, 4,000 people took part in the Bathurst Steam Weekend festivities, and it made for some stunning line-side photos in the crisp winter weather with this very special double header. Transport Heritage New South Wales does have many other tours coming up this year, so do check their website for details. In 2022, the Illawarra Light Railway Museum was successful in grant funding by Transport Heritage New South Wales to replace the 1923 040 Hawthorn Leslie locomotive Burroughs water tank. And over the month of June, the completion of the external and internal painting of the loco cab in a slightly darker new livery than the repaint back in 1995. And the paint was donated by Wattle Paints. The museum has 3 events for July, which are the school holiday train rides on the 4th and the 11th, as well as the Arctic Express on the 9th. The Valley Heights Locomotive Depot Heritage Museum will combine with the Valley Heights Steam Tramway, Campbelltown Steam and Machinery Museum, and the Model T Ford Club to present the inaugural Blue Mountain Steam Fun Fest on Saturday, the 8th of July and Sunday the 9th, which is in the middle of the school holidays. On the 23rd of July, the museum will be holding an open day from 10 to 4. Ride a steam or diesel hauled train aboard the Valley Heights Mixed or the 1890s Sydney Steam Tram, with tickets now available. During the month, the Richmond Vale Railway ran a Coalfields Steam event, where over 1,200 people visited the museum, with locomotive Marjorie running demonstration trains, as well as passenger trains throughout the weekend. Their next event is the Family Fun Fest on the 23rd and 24th of September. Lachlan Valley Railway kicked off the month with some very interesting movements, with locomotive 4464 and a 6-car mixed deb set, which was moved from Rothbury to Orange, although not too much information is currently available on what's happening with these. The LVR is off to Orange on the 7th to the 9th with locomotive 3237. The 130-year-old locomotive has recently undergone a 6-year restoration and will return to active service this coming July to become the Central West's own resident steam engine, with tickets now available for this 70-minute round trip. Now, in the last 4 interesting movements, following on from the Tailem Bend transfer, locomotive 420-107 took the former Dimboola Northern Rivers Railroad carriages from Albury to Goulburn. Although there doesn't seem to be a definitive answer on what's happening with these former South Australian Railways carriages next, but apparently they're going to the picnic train. In Queensland, the Atherton-Herberton Historic Railway received their second Queensland Rail 2000 class, which completes their pair. It's a Queensland Rail 2000 class, number 2024, and it arrived at the beginning of the month after being transported by truck from Ipswich near Brisbane, all the way up to Herberton. They intend to use these 2000 class rail motors to operate trains on the whole run between Herberton and Atherton, and hopefully the day comes when all 22 kilometres of track on these locations have been restored. As well as that, they have also finished regauging the main chassis frame of Mulgrave Central Mill Comeng AA2 from 2 foot to 3 foot 6. This locomotive was the former Mulgrave Central Mill diesel locomotive, and it ran on 2-foot gauge tracks, and was once used for hauling sugarcane for that mill until it was retired in the 90s due to not being used. This locomotive was donated to them by MSF Sugar. On July 22nd, the Atherton Herberton Historic Railway will be hosting dinner at the Herberton Railway Station and a night train to ride from Herberton Historic Village, where there will be 2-hour-long astronomy sessions with 2 telescopes for stargazing. Then the train will travel back to the railway station for a campfire, dessert, and astronomy stories. At the Southern Downs Steam Railway, the Downs Explorer is operating throughout the Warwick Jumpers and Jazz, and includes a free sausage sizzle on the railway station for passengers. At this point, the seats are halfway sold out. Kuranda Scenic Railway on the 25th of June celebrated its 132nd birthday, with some celebrations happening on board the regular service. At the Woodford Railway on Sunday the 2nd of July, the Heritage Diesel Running Day will take place, with train rides from 10 to 3 with a lunch break between 12:30 and 1:30. Trips take approximately 15 minutes, so simply turn up to ride and there's no booking required. Tickets will be available on the day. FPOS is available, however, cash is preferred. They are also calling for donations for a few workshop projects currently on the go, which are the Perry, which is at 85% completion, the Melbourne at 75%, Gundy at 95%, and the RM coaches at 50%, plus a couple of more locomotives. Some of these projects have some big items that are costing a fair bit. For example, to repair all the seats in the RM coach and to do the wheelchair upgrade is a cost of around $18,000. At the Budrim Palmwoods Heritage Tramway, it's an update on the Crossus Loco display. They've said that they're now entering an exciting stage, with Damien Collins finalising the building design, guided by the heritage architect Roger Todd. Roger has submitted the final Heritage Impact Report, which will go to Council with their development application now being prepared by Tim Mumford of Innovative Planning Solutions. They would like to take this opportunity to thank the Sunshine Coast Council for the major grant received to fund their project. As well as that, they did also celebrate 20 years of community service during the month. Vintage Rail Journeys have sold out both their Gold West Rail Tour and the Riverina Tour, both happening in September. But both tours have more dates announced, and tickets are now available on these very popular tours, which do use the former Southern Aurora passenger cars. As well as that, they also have the North Coast Rail Tour happening on the 22nd to the 26th of October. Railway Adventures have announced the Trundle to Aber Festival, which is a central New South Wales rambler, happening from the 13th to the 17th of October. This tour will run from Orange to Parkes, Trundle, Dubbo, Wallerang, and the Great Zigzag Railway. This is a 5-day ABBA-themed adventure aboard a selection of fun-packed trains journeying through scenic landscapes of central New South Wales, culminating at the lively Trundle ABBA Festival, and beyond into the heartland of Australian railway heritage. As well as that, they have also announced an Elvis special to Parkes in January, with ticket booking requests now open.
So there we go, that was all the news, updates and announcements that happened during the month of June in 2023 in the Australian Railway Preservation community. Now, some feedback from last month, which was of course the first episode. One is, I know that not every month there's going to be news from every single organisation. I have been trying throughout the month to get as many contacts with these different groups, especially the smaller groups, to try and boost their signal so you can all find out about these wonderful organisations. Now, I did get a lot of emails saying that a lot of you found out about a lot of groups that you had no idea existed, and that is fantastic in a way. That is exactly why I started this, series. So, if you are in any of these groups, do reach out to me. I am more than happy to communicate with you and hopefully spread the message of your organisations. All my contact details, as well as all the details for all these other organisations, can be found in the description below, as well as that, of course, in the timeline if you do need to skip back to anything. Now, in a way for me to give back to the community, for you watching this at home, and to hopefully help out some of these groups, is every month now I will be giving away a membership to one of these organisations, and that is all up to you which organisation it's going to be. So, on my website, in the competitions tab, there will be a competition form, and it will have a question in it. And the question will relate to this video, so I know that you watched it and didn't just skip to the competition, and hopefully, once again, found out about a preservation group, a tour, asked for help, for volunteers, for donations, that kind of thing. Anyway, I digress. If you want to enter, it will, you just fill out the form there, and I will announce the winner in next month's episode, and you'll get a 12-month membership to an organisation of your choice. Perhaps you're already a member of somewhere or many places like some of us are, but it means that you can broaden that horizon. Maybe you live in Melbourne or Victoria and you want to is find out more about a Queensland organisation or somewhere in South Australia, like, I don't know, Steam Ranger. Anyway, I'll leave that all up to you. So all those details there are on my website. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, feedback, or anything like that, you can leave it in the comments below or send me an email directly. Once again, all my links and all the links for all these great organisations are in the description below. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again next month. Hooroo.